So now our next topic of discussion is earth, crust, rocks and minerals. Dear students, in our day-to-day life, we are dependent on a number of articles like jewelry, utensils, iron articles, etc. Have you ever wondered where do they originate from? You might be aware that these things are made of metal. In simple words, metals are minerals present in the rocks which form the earth's crust, which is the outermost layer of the earth. These minerals can be melted to obtain new products. So now, what are rocks? Rocks are hard materials that form a part of surface of the earth. They are solid in form and contain minerals. Basalt is the most common rock. It is dark in color, sometimes glassy and very fine grained, which means small particles. Quartz is most common mineral found on earth. All the sand which is there in deserts, in riverbeds, in beaches and in sandstone is quartz. So now next is the classification of rocks. Rocks are generally classified on the basis of mineral and chemical composition. This implies that rocks are classified by the type of minerals which are found in them. For example, quartz, mica, etc. And chemical composition simply means the chemical formula of proportion or amount of elements in minerals. Rocks are also classified on the basis of their texture, which includes the size, shape, appearance, their arrangement of the grains or particles constituting rock. They are also classified on the basis of processes of formation like melting, cooling, erosion, etc. So on the basis of processes of formation, rocks are divided into three types. These are Igneous Rocks, Sedimentary Rocks and Metamorphic Rock. Let us now study these classification of rocks. Igneous Rocks. So igneous rocks are very hard and that's why very resistant against water to penetrate them or to dissolve them. They are also known as primary rocks as all the other rocks are derived from them. Igneous rocks are formed when magma or lava cools and solidifies or becomes solid both inside the earth's crust or in its surface. Again, igneous rocks are classified into two more types. These are intrusive rocks and extrusive rocks. Intrusive rocks are formed when molten material solidifies inside the crust and don't reach the surface of the earth. These rocks are exposed or visible only when the layers of the rock are washed away by water through the process of erosion. This means continuous flow of water on the layers of rock or the crust of the earth would wash away the layers. Under that circumstance, the intrusive rock would be visible or get exposed. As these rocks cool slowly, it allows large crystals to form. So, example of intrusive rock is graphite. Next, extrusive rocks. Extrusive rocks are formed when magma or lava from inside the earth flows out on the surface of the earth. They cool on the surface of the earth. As they cool quickly, they have fine grains or form small crystals. Example of extrusive rock is basalt. So now the second classification of rock is sedimentary rock. Rocks that have formed through sediment that is deposited over time, usually as layers. So So these are sedimentary rocks. I am sure you have seen rocks which have granules, which means they are grainy or have very fine particles and they have distinct layers. These sedimentary rocks are formed from fragments of other rocks, which implies they are broken off from other rocks. So as rocks are constantly exposed to wind, rain, heat and cold, they get worn down. Sometimes they are washed away by streams or get blown away by wind. The smaller particles of these rocks are transported and deposited at distant places in the form of mud. When this mud gets compressed, rocks with layers are formed, which are known as sedimentary rocks. So sedimentary rocks are also formed from fragments or pieces of once living organisms like corals and seashells. Corals are small sea animals and seashells are the empty shell of a small sea creature which is very hard. For example, shells of snails, oysters, etc. These corals and seashells form a rock called limestone. When the minerals present in shells and corals-like substances get dissolved in water, they settle down and form a crust or layer at the bottom of a lake or sea and form rocks such as rock salt. Again, when sediments are buried, they get compressed under the weight of the layers above them. When underground water seeps through these sediments or water moves inside these sediments and deposits minerals inside them, then mineral crystals are formed which leads to the formation of natural hard and concrete rocks. So now the last classification of rocks is metamorphic rocks. Metamorphic rocks undergo metamorphosis, which means change in form. Rocks are subjected to intense heat, pressure or some other agent. Thus, a complete change in the physical and chemical characteristics of rocks takes place. Change in physical characteristics implies that there would be change in color, hardness, etc. And change in chemical characteristics means the change in mineral composition. The very appearance of rock change and become a totally new rock. So in simple words, we understand that metamorphic rock started out as some other type of rock like igneous rock or sedimentary rock, but changed into some other form. So now we will do a study on rock cycle. Rock cycle describes the transition that all the three types of rock undergo. It is a series of processes that create and transform the types of rocks in Earth's crust. All types of rocks get altered or destroyed when they are forced out of their equilibrium conditions. This implies that as rocks are forced out of their comfortable or balanced conditions, they encounter new environments and as a result, they change. The rock cycle explains how the three rock types are related to each other and how processes change them from one type to another. So, for example, sediments form sedimentary rocks. And these rocks, when they are crushed at the roots of the mountains, undergoing the process of metamorphosis, metamorphic rocks are formed from sedimentary rocks. Again, when sedimentary rocks melt with heat and later become solid, they form igneous rocks. All rocks get broken off as a result of exposure to heat, water and pressure, and these fine particles known as sediment led to the formation of sedimentary rock. Igneous rocks also convert into metamorphic rock when exposed to heat and pressure. When metamorphic rocks are heated at very high temperature, they melt to form magma. This magma, after cooling and solidification, forms igneous rocks. Igneous rocks are subjected to weathering. Weathered particles are transported and deposited to form sedimentary rocks. So, we will find that the rock cycle goes on and on like this. Dear students, with the help of this video session, I am sure you would be able to gather information on the Earth's interior and its components and rock, their formation, type, and rock cycle. With this, we come to the end of the lesson. So, have a great day. Stay safe.